Hello everyone, I'm AT Storm Track meteorologist Austin Haskins. Hopefully you enjoyed the really nice weather we've had the last couple of days, because we are going to be entering a more active weather pattern here for the rest of the week as we're tracking two systems here between today and Friday. We're going to be dealing with gusty winds here this afternoon through the day on Wednesday. We'll also have our first low pressure system during that same time frame, and then later in the week we'll have our next low pressure system. So we're going to talk about all that here as we go forward in time. So our first low pressure this morning is out west of Billings, Montana, and this will be moving in here later today and into tonight. We're starting off pretty quiet this morning. Clouds are going to increase, though, as the day goes on, as that system approaches. And also, as that system approaches, the wind is going to pick up. Could have a few wind gusts this afternoon and into this evening, as high as about 30 to 35 miles an hour. Now, tomorrow, though, as the low gets a little closer to us, the wind will let up just a little bit, but it will still be on the breezy side with gusts at times up to 25 to 30 miles per hour. So here's a look at future track. This is the graph model we're looking at, and I have the fronts on here so you can see where the system's going to track. So you can see the clouds increase as the day goes on, and then as we get into tonight, we should see some precip develop later on in the afternoon and into early in the evening, but likely that's going to stay to our north and east, and it will be battling some drier air. But as the stationary boundary gets a little bit closer to the area, we should see enough lift for another wave of rain to develop. And strangely enough, we may even have a couple of rumbles of thunder with this as well. There's just enough energy to maybe support that. It's a low chance, but it's not a completely zero chance of that. Then by tomorrow morning, overnight, the main area of low pressure is going to be near Sioux Falls, South Dakota. You can see snow to the north, and it's still mostly rain here in western Wisconsin. But then the dry slot does take over, and then that will lift to the north. So Wednesday morning should be dry. The question is, though, is how does the system progress not only during the day today, but also tomorrow? Because this run of future track has some wraparound moisture redeveloping in the afternoon with some rain showers and maybe even cold enough where we see a brief period of some light snow showers. That's one look at future track. Here's the HRRR model, and this is going to show a completely different look for our Wednesday. So a lot of clouds around. Again, maybe some drizzle and sprinkles this afternoon, but that drier air is really going to kind of, limit those chances overall. And then you can see that first wave kind of moving through again. Very, very light in nature if it even reaches the ground. But then as we get into the late evening and overnight hours, I do think that's when the precip chances will eventually start to reach the ground as the atmosphere becomes a little more saturated. Then that dry slot takes over pretty quickly. And then outside of maybe some light precip across areas north of Highway 64 Wednesday morning, the HRRR model is completely dry Wednesday afternoon. In fact, it's showing sunshine Wednesday afternoon. So there's a lot of differences in how exactly Wednesday is going to play out. We could end up likely somewhere in the middle where I think we're going to have some sunshine in spots. It'll be cloudier in others, and we'll have some precip around. I think that's the more likely solution, but just gives you an idea just how drastic the differences are in some of the higher resolution data, and we're only 24 to 36 hours out. So something that we'll have to kind of watch here throughout the day today and into tomorrow. So during the day, the next couple of days, precip chances are on the lower end of the scale. It will peak tonight, and then Thursday into Friday, we do have another system that looks to bring mostly snow to the area. We'll talk about that here in just a second, but I want to also show you, these are the precip projections off several of the different models you're seeing here. You can see the HRRR shows almost nothing for Eau Claire. The GEM model here is printing out almost 1.5 inches. Now, that would be a pretty good thing in a sense because of how dry it's been as of late, but I think that's kind of an outlier. The other four are generally in that 1/4 to 1/2 inch range, and I think that will be on the higher end of the scale. Again, it will all boil down to where the system tracks and, of course, that dry slot moving through. So these numbers may come up a little bit, but they may come down a little bit as well. So we'll watch trends on that. Certainly any moisture we can get will be very welcome considering how dry it has been as of late. Now, let's jump ahead to Thursday night and Friday because this is our next system. We're going to start with the American GFS model here. And you can see at this point we are still dry, some rain to the south, but then as we advance this forward, you can see some snow and rain in a mix south and east of Eau Claire. And then we see a band of snow develop into Friday morning where we're drier as you get closer to the Minnesota border. And then that will kind of slowly lift north as we head into Friday afternoon and Friday night. The European model kind of shows a similar solution, but it's a little bit further to the west and northwest. And again, this is showing maybe the heaviest of the snow, at least the darker blues, putting it right over western Wisconsin and lingering all the way until early to mid Friday evening. So there's still questions with this system as well. This will also boil down to the track, but also the strength of the system as well, as right now the track of it is forecasted to go south and east of the area. So we'll watch the trends on that as well, but at least be watching closely because this would lead to some travel impacts should this pan out where we get some snow accumulation. So again, questions with that are still up in the air. We'll get those hopefully answered tomorrow, if not, especially on Thursday, as we get that first system out of here. But just want to give you an update on where that stands as we get toward the end of the week. So back to today, forecast highs generally in the mid to upper 40s, a few lower 50s, a little cooler though towards Medford around 42. For tonight, we're back down into the 30s to some lower 40s. So a very warm start to the day, although it's going to feel cooler because of those breezy conditions. Now tomorrow, highs are going to vary quite a bit. From the mostly lower 40s north and northwest to as warm as the mid 50s down to the south. And depending on what solution you look at for the models, which I'm going to show you here in a second, these numbers may come up or down depending on how that system progresses. And then for Thursday, we're looking at highs in the 30s and 40s. So this is a look again at some of the higher resolution models. And this is at 8 a.m. on Wednesday. You can see pretty consistent in the upper 30s and low 40s. So now I'm going to advance it here, and you'll notice the numbers are going to change here a little bit. We'll go to about 3 p.m. with this. You can see here, 4 of the 6 show temperatures, and this is Eau Claire, around 40 degrees. The GFS has us in the upper 40s. The HRRR has us sitting at 53 degrees. In fact, it has 50s almost area-wide in western Wisconsin. So again, how that system progresses is also going to dictate how warm we get. So right now I'm going 46 degrees for Eau Claire on Wednesday, but just know that may go up or down here with the newer data that comes out as the day goes on and into tonight. 42 on our Thursday, 33 Friday, and then we dry out for the weekend, but it's going to be colder with highs in the 20s, which would be running near to even slightly below average.